I had to have my dog neutered, right? I had a sheepdog when he was 12 years old. The vet said, you should have him neutered. It'll cause him more trouble as he gets older. Man, it is just not easy for a man to commit to having another male neutered. You know, it's like, I said, trim his nails and work your way up slowly, you know.
The late Garry Shandling, of course, when the influential comedian died 2 years ago today. He was remembered as both a top stand-up comic and the creator of two of the most innovative sitcoms in television history. It's Garry Shandling's show and The Larry Sanders Show.
And now Shandling's the subject of The Zen Diaries of Garry Shandling. It's a new documentary by fellow comedian and film director Judd Apatow. Jamie Wax has the story. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning, Rena. Judd Apatow had amazing access to his hugely successful, but in some ways insecure subject. He was allowed to review Shandling's personal journals, letters, recordings, and videos. I sat down with his fellow performers Dave Coulier, Penny Johnson-Gerald, and SNL alum Kevin Nealon, who are all featured in the film and who called Garry Shandling a friend and inspiration.
I once made love for 1 hour and 5 minutes, all right? Which, well... It was on the day you pushed the clocks ahead, but I don't...
Why was this man such a mentor to so many people? A guy who's so complicated and so uncertain of his own choices. Why did he influence so many other people's choices?
Because he was doing what we aspired to do, and he was doing it well. His craftsmanship of his jokes were amazing, and his performance was great, and we wanted to be like him.
Garry would meet you on the level that you are and challenge you to be better than that.
I don't talk about my hair anymore because I've matured and realize now that looks aren't important. It's what kind of hair you have inside.
Everything Garry created was crafted with a certain tip of the hat towards his own vulnerability.
I'm on my way to Hawaii.
That vulnerability is seen throughout Apatow's documentary, The Zen Diaries of Garry Shandling.
Working with Garry was always very difficult, because he was as brilliant as anybody's ever been at comedy writing. So if you're writing with him, you know, it would be like trying to paint with Picasso, and Picasso's like, why are you using red? I'm like, I don't know. I thought red worked here.
Apatow's admiration came early.
How would you describe the type of humor that you're doing?
Oh, man.
He was just 16 when he scored an interview with the comedian for his high school radio station.
I was obsessed with comedy and hunting down all my heroes to get to meet them. And Garry was somebody that I really looked up to even then.
The two were close friends up until Shandling's death in 2016, which came as a terrible surprise to everyone who knew him.
My wife came up the stairs in shock, and I heard her yelling, "Oh no, oh no." And I didn't know who died. She told me finally. Was it a shock? It was a shock.
He was complex, at times neurotic, persnickety, high maintenance, a perfectionist with the highest standards, and he could be a handful.
Nealon was one of Shandling's close friends asked to speak at the comedian's memorial.
I think the fact that he spelled his name with 2 R's was a warning that he was going to be complicated.
Apatow got the idea for the documentary after creating material for the service, material that went beyond the comedy Shandling was known for.
It's odd that Prince just died because Garry and Prince were very similar. There really were no differences when you really get down to it.
Even though he struggled, his real focus was on being a better person, being a more loving person, being there for other people. And it moved people deeply in a way I had never seen before. And I thought there was probably a way to make a documentary that could inspire people and move people in the same way.
None of these journals are the same, and it reflects from the time I was 25 till now.
After his death, Apatow learned about the stacks of journals Shandling left behind, dating back to 1977.
Like, this is him working on his resume.
Did it seem overwhelming to try and capture the spirit of this guy?
I wasn't overwhelmed. In the beginning, it was very hard to just listen to him just as a friend. It's hard to watch everything and dive deep into his head.
He wrote in one entry, "Your strength now is to move on, to live moment to moment." And he ended with, "That is discipline. It will require strength." The material helped provide a rare glimpse into a public figure's private reality including how major incidents shaped his life, influenced his creativity, and even affected his ability to trust. And the first one that really stands out is the death of his brother from cystic fibrosis when he was a small child. How much did the death of Barry Shandling affect Garry Shandling?
For me, it was just so interesting thinking, I never knew this about Garry.
But it's also like Gary's joke when he says his friends tell him that he has intimacy problems, but they don't know me.
Yeah.
So.
Only when I was going through everything for the documentary did I realize that this seemed to be one of the most important moments of his life.
This is a good night for a young comedian's first appearance on network television.
Another important moment in his life was his debut on the ultimate stage, The Tonight Show.
And the baby's crawling around on the carpet, and this baby loads up his diaper, you know, and I'm sitting there, you know, and the mother comes over and says, "Isn't that adorable? Brandon made a gift for Daddy." Now I'm figuring this guy's got to be real easy to shop for on Father's Day.
Comedian Bob Saget was backstage that night and described Shandling's reaction in the documentary.
And he came over and he fell into my arms and he was crying. And he said, "I don't know what to do now." I said, you were so great. It was unbelievable. He said, "I don't know what to do because this is all I ever wanted to do, and I just did it."
Shandling spent his life trying to master his craft. But in fact, the secret to his success may have been something you can't acquire, but something you peel away. What's the most important thing Garry Shandling left the entertainment industry, comedy, the world?
I think Garry taught us all and leaves with us all the freedom to be naked and the ability to be able to laugh at yourself.
I look at Garry as an innovator, not only with his stand-up, but what he did for television.
I've seen my mother sleep before, and she doesn't sleep like this. Nobody does.
Garry.
I know you've never met my mother before, but you really caught her on a bad day.
He taught me that real comedy comes from truth, being honest.
I think basically what he was trying to say in all of his work is that people should love each other and take care of each other and be kind. And when they aren't, it's funny.
I have a hospital bed. You know, I have a mirror over my bed, and on it says, "Objects are larger than they appear." Anyway, I gotta go. Enjoy everybody else. Thanks so much. Thank you.
That's one of my favorite lines of his, for sure. The two-part documentary premieres on HBO this Monday and Tuesday, and it's well worth watching. It's 4+ hours. I have screened it. You know, they send us these screeners for research.
You watched it all?
I have watched it 3 times.
Have you really?
Tell you, it's incredibly moving.
Yeah.
It's very human, and just like his comedy, he's really trying to work through the condition of being human.
It's fascinating that he kept those journals for so long, and so interesting to hear an artist talking to himself. You know?
Yes.
And it's so touching just to see how moved these folks were that were close to him just 2 years after his death, that they really are just moved by what he's done for them and the impact they had on their careers.
When we were together in that room, we laughed a lot, but there was such a huge sense of loss. It was really palpable.
Palpable, it really is. Well, Garry Shandling had a very thriving career in the spotlight. Thank you, Jamie, for joining us.